Think about the things that you associate with home. Is it a favorite couch pillow? A particular type of soup that your grandmother makes? A sleeping cat? A batch of freshly baked cookies? Now think, how does this make you feel? Is it calm, reassured, fulfilled? Whatever it might be, and this is different for everyone, I can safely say that replicating this comfort in a new environment is often difficult. Having grown up around animals and surrounded by trees, the thing I associate with home is, well, dirt. Now, I don't mean subways and storm drains, I mean earth, like grass and timber frames and vegetables. As a school that represents 49 countries and 44 states, Andover is rich with different cultures and identities. So naturally, everyone has a different form of comfort which she or he or they associate with home. This student's comfort is different from that student's comfort, which is different from my own. Yet, when we do not have this form of comfort, whether tangible or not, it is easy to feel lost, or alone, or even afraid. So, back to this idea of dirt. I've always been afraid of rooms without windows. But that's because I spent the majority of my life without a bedroom ceiling. The wall just went up until it reached the rafters, and then finally the ridge, and then eventually the sky. I'm used to the sky, used to the grass and the trees, used to putting on layers because we never had central heating, used to opening a window because there was one everywhere I turned. At Andover, it is sometimes hard to be shut on the 3rd floor with no dirt, lots of heat, and a window exactly 6 paces from my bed. These comforts, these associations with home, are all patterns of our identity. They describe the way we choose to present ourselves to the world, as well as the culture with which we identify. Jhumpa Lahiri's short story called Mrs. Sen's examines exactly this. The beginning of the story introduces Mrs. Sen as a tidy, practical housewife. She takes care of a young boy named Elliot and tells him stories of her life at home in India while she chops vegetables and prepares the meals. Yet, later on in the story, we are able to see that Mrs. Sen is not entirely comfortable in her new life. As a reader, we are able to see through the careful observations of Elliot that Mrs. Sen is most comfortable when she is surrounded by aspects of her identity, that is, traditions from her home. The clothes she wears, the knife she uses to chop the vegetables, the way she decorates her house, and, most significantly, the food she eats. Around a third of the way through the story, Mrs. Sen reveals to Elliot that she's been looking for a place that sells fish. Not just fish from a regular supermarket, but fresh fish, whole. She explains to him that in India, she would eat fish at least twice a day. And there, fish was easy to find because it was such a staple in Indian cuisine. Not long after, Mrs. Sen discovers a fish market not too far from her home. She is so excited that it becomes hard for her to focus on anything, namely driving. Fish, as we soon discover, is an important detail in Mrs. Sen's life. Without it, she feels lost, alone, and detached from her identity, her culture, and even farther away from home. At one point, she becomes so preoccupied by the fish that she momentarily forgets her fear and her incompetence at driving. And as soon as she receives a call from the fish market informing her that they had some fish waiting for her, she immediately becomes reckless and neglects the cleanup. And I assure you that that is an anomaly. So she attempts driving both Elliot and herself to the fish market to pick up the fish. And here's where I will stop, because I don't want to give away the climax of the story. But you can see from the small excerpt just how important the seemingly insignificant detail is to Mrs. Sen's comfort and general well-being. Fish to Mrs. Sen is like dirt to me. It is a symbol of culture, a remembrance of home. I live 45 minutes away from home. Mrs. Sen lives 8,448 miles away from home. So you can imagine just how significant this seemingly insignificant scaled ocean dweller is to Mrs. Sen.